Welcome back to the BCATS in Focus, where we dive deep into stories, philosophies, controversies that are all shaping our world. I'm your host, Tom, and today we're tackling some big topics. The judiciary's role in politics, the concept of the deep state, and philosophies of influential figures like Bernie Sanders and George Soros. These are complex issues, but we'll break them down and explore their connections. Shall we kick it off? Judges are often seen as impartial interpreters of the law, but their rulings sometimes can spark debates about bias or political influence. Take Lauren Akan, Deborah Boardman, George Kufanaugh, I probably pronounced it wrong, which I have, and James Boasberg, judges who issued rulings against executive actions during the Trump administration. Their decisions emphasized constitutional principles, but critiques argue that these rulings reflect political leanings. For example, Akeen blocked an executive order targeting a law firm representing Dominion voting systems, calling it his shocking abuse of power. Boardman and Kavanaugh both ruled against attempts to end birthright citizenship, citing the 14th Amendment. Boasberg challenged the use of the Alien Enemies Act for deportations, accusing the administration of defying judicial orders. These cases highlight the tension between judicial independence and allegations of bias. Are judges truly impartial, or are they influenced by hidden networks of power? Now, let's unpack the concept of the deep state. Originating in Turkey, the term describes a hidden network of power operating behind the scenes. In the U.S., it's often used to allege that unelected officials or bureaucrats manipulate government policies. Historical events like Operation Gladio in Europe and the Iran Contra affair in the U.S. have fueled these theories. Operation Gladio involved secret parliamentary networks across Europe during the Cold War, while the Iran-Contra scandal revealed covert arms sales and funding of rebels by the leftist Democrats. These events suggest that hidden networks can influence government actions, but the term deep state is often used more broadly to describe perceived conspiracies. Is the deep state a real phenomenon or just a convenient scapegoat for political frustrations? Now, on to George Soros, a figure who often finds himself at the center of controversy. Soros champions the idea of an open society, emphasizing democracy, human rights, and transparency. Through his Open Society foundations, he funds initiatives promoting social justice, education, and public health. Critics have accused him of wielding way too much power, while supporters of him say he's a defender of democratic values. For example, Soros has funded organizations that fight corruption, protect marginalized communities, and advocates for LGBTQ plus rights. His philosophy is rooted in the idea that societies should be pluralistic and constantly evolving. But does his advocacy align with the idea of the deep state? Or is he simply a philanthropist with a vision? Now, finally, let's explore Bernie Sanders and his philosophy. As a democratic socialist, which he admits to, Sanders advocates for economic equality corporate accountability, and social justice. He envisions a society where healthcare, education, and housing are fundamental rights. Sanders critiques entrenched systems of power, including corporate influence, wealth inequality. Now, interestingly, while some critics label him as part of the establishment, his policies challenge that very idea of a deep state. For example, Sanders has called out the military industrial complex in Wall Street for undermining democracy. His philosophy sparks both admiration and criticism, but it undeniably raises important questions about the balance of power in society. There have been cases and rulings where judicial bias has been alleged, sometimes fueling discussions about whether judges operate within a hidden framework of influence. Critiques have pointed to cases where judges have ruled against executive orders or policies based on ideological grounds. For example, rulings against Trump administration policies on immigration and civil rights enforcement have been cited as evidence of judicial activism rather than a strict legal interpretation. And well, it certainly does look that way. If we look at the complete picture, it's likely the deep state exists and works every day to further the left's agenda and ideologies. The pieces of the puzzle have been fitting together. The constant and frantic attacks by the left to derail Trump and his first term in office, the repeated and obviously orchestrated attempts to undermine Trump's second term in office, instantaneous and clearly well planned, well in advance. The massive thefts that Dodge uncovered, which seemed to lead right to leftist ideologies with reactions focused not on the thefts themselves, but on the discovery of those thefts. Why is that? The left's work to flood the country with illegal immigrants through open border policies, supported by illicit programs and means. The Clinton server scandal, brushed under the rug. The Iran-Contra affair in the 1980s. Biological males competing in girls' sports teams. Tampons in boys' bathrooms in public schools. DEI initiatives forced into schools and workplaces. It's clear that the left has a planned agenda that fully aligns with the philosophies of Bernie Sanders and George Soros, as well as many others. There is a deep state, but the question is, who's actually in control? Well, thanks for dropping by. I'd love to hear your comments, love to hear your suggestions. Please like and follow. Until next time, keep things in focus.